Alright, so I'm sure that there is absolutely zero people in the world who remember this. This is the Holiday 5100A, 9 transistor, 4 diode, 1 varistor, 1 selenium, digital Wake-O-Matic. Now what we're going to do in this video is we're going to satisfy my ultimate curiosity of whether or not this thing actually has a selenium rectifier in it. So, a couple of points that I'd like to make beforehand, mostly about safety. Make sure that the unit is not plugged in before you take it apart. That goes without saying with any electrical device, but more so with something that's as old as this. Why? You have no idea whether or not this thing has a hot chassis. It could be old enough that it does. And that, my friends, is no good. If you touch the hot chassis, zap, that is game over for you. So heed my advice and don't do that. The right way to do all of this stuff, especially for testing if it's in an unknown working condition, would be to hook it up to an isolation transformer and maybe a variac to slowly crank the power up if it hasn't been on for a while. That advice usually applies to equipment that is powered by vacuum tubes as opposed to transistors and other solid-state components. Well, I don't really know if I would call a selenium rectifier solid-state. I think it is. It's not silicon, I'll tell you that much. Unfortunately, it is missing a screw in the back here, which is really kind of unfortunate. I'm going to go ahead and I'll take the back off so we can just have a look inside here. So you can see inside there. I don't know, I don't really see a selenium rectifier in there. I see a transformer. So usually it'd be behind the transformer, but I don't see one. There's a motor back there, that's for the clock the alarm clock part of it. And I guess that's all the electronics. Now, what I'm going to do next is there are 4 screws on the bottom. There's also a schematic. See this right here, that's a schematic. So there are 4 screws on the bottom here. I'm going to take these out. And again, I'm touching the chassis right now, so it's not plugged in. I'm not getting zapped. If I was plugged in, there is a possibility that I could get shocked because it might have a hot chassis. You never know. You can't make the assumption that it does not. One piece of advice that I will give you is that most pieces of equipment that have a hot chassis have a plug on the back that will unplug when you pull the back off to prevent such kinds of stupidity from happening. But you cannot assume that just because it doesn't have that means that it doesn't have a hot chassis. That would be a very bad assumption to make. Now, the one thing that I'm very hopeful that doing this isn't going to do is make me need to restring the tuning dial, because that would suck. Okay, so now that all the knobs are off, and again, you will probably want to take more careful note than I did how they went on in the first place, you should be able to simply slide the whole chassis out of the unit, just like that. And have a look at what's going on. If you really want to look inside the chassis, that's what it looks like. There's not really much to see. In fact, there really isn't anything to see. But having a look here and being careful not to disturb anything, I don't know. I do not see a selenium rectifier on this board anywhere. I see a lot of adjustments. So we can go ahead and have a look here. There's a lot of adjustment pots, but I do not see a selenium rectifier. I see capacitors. In fact, I don't even really see any. Oh, there's a transistor. Yeah, there's a couple of those, I believe they call those germanium. That's what they're made out of, germanium transistors. But I don't know, I don't see a selenium rectifier. In fact, I don't even see any rectifier at all. I don't know. I don't want to pull that board off, because if I do, I'm pretty sure I will need to restring that dial, and I don't want to touch that. Whoops. My apologies. Anyway, like I was saying, I don't see a selenium rectifier on this board. See a transformer. Use connections off the transformer. That's just a motor. That's for the clock. That's an AC synchronous motor. Where's my light? I had a flashlight. There it is. There is what looks like a switch, probably for the alarm. They hid that rectifier really well if it's in here. No, that's for the tuner. That's the tuning capacitor. I do see the 9 transistors. I see capacitors. I see resistors. I see disc capacitors. But I do not see either silicon rectifier or a selenium rectifier. So, I guess that's a mystery to everybody. There's your video. I'm not going to really dwell too much longer on it. Like I said, there's a schematic on the bottom that I'll have to read. See if I can find it. In fact, you know what? Let me try and read that and see where the rectifier happens to be. And then I guess we will come back and I'll tell you what I found. Okay, well, I went ahead and had a look at the schematic. I can't find it. So unless it's up in this part here that's been ruthlessly ripped off, I don't know. I see 2 diodes on that end of the transformer. So that would be somewhere around, because the power feeds straight into the clock. This is a 120 volt. This is mains powered, which makes sense because it's AC synchronous. But there has to be rectification in it somewhere, and the only thing that I can see in this circuit, that's pointed out anyway, are these 2 diodes that are right there. So I'm going to make the assertion that this thing does not, in fact, have selenium rectifiers. So it's not as old as it might first seem to be. Who knows? It's possible that they recycled this plate from another one that was older. In which case, this might not even be the model number. Well, I was going to show you the mechanism running outside of the chassis, but apparently it actually has some kind of protection against doing that, which suggests to me that maybe it does in fact have a hot chassis, because it was not running. At least the clock wasn't running when it was outside of the chassis. The clock is running now, which you might see here in a few seconds. Yep, there it goes. It is a little off, I do know that. I don't know where the problem lies mechanically, but I'm probably going to have to take it back out again and have a look. Something is very obviously off a little bit, because when you set it, everything clicks into place like it's supposed to. But the issue seems to be in the actual motor. When it makes a revolution, it doesn't start in the right place, or it doesn't stop in the right place, or maybe both of those are true. But either way, there is that. I'm going to say it does not have a selenium rectifier, despite saying that it does. But either way, there is the insides of the Holiday 5100A digital Wake-O-Matic. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off, and I hope to see you next time. Till then.